I've been doing this for now 14, 15 years between Washington and Jerusalem in the Middle East. So I feel like I'm pretty well-versed in diplomatic speak. But this is from Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State today. Navalny's reported death in prison underscores the weakness and rot of the system that Putin built. Even I can't decipher it. Can you?
No, I mean, it's look, this is a tragic event, but it doesn't demonstrate weakness on Putin's part. I think, sad to say, it demonstrates the opposite. He thought he could do this without any significant domestic Russian political consequences, and he could do it without any real international consequences either. And I think Biden, in the statement you just ran, helps show that that's true. The sanctions that we've put on Russia, the Europeans and others since the invasion of Ukraine 2 years ago have not stopped the Russian economy. After an initial hit, it's true the Russians suffered a bit there. They've largely recovered. At the same time, the Ukrainian economy is still being ground into the dust. And the Russians have had high casualties. If they had the same calculus on the value of human life as we do, they'd worry about it more. But this is the way the Russians fight. So if Biden's rhetoric just continues at this level, it encourages Russia. It's part of the proof that they can commit this kind of murder and get away with it.
The world watches these things, right? No singular event takes place in a vacuum. China's watching what happens. The Iranians are watching what happens. When the president of the United States says something, it has to have teeth, right? This man has to go, which is something President Biden said about Vladimir Putin. I'm thinking about when Barack Obama said that Assad's days are numbered, on and on and on. And yet we haven't seen anything happen. I'm wondering, at some point, will the world, and maybe it's already happened, stop taking President Biden's words seriously?
Well, I don't think they take him seriously now. In fact, I would argue that the Kremlin's decision to invade Ukraine 2 years ago was based, among other things, very significantly on the disastrous American and NATO withdrawal from Afghanistan, and on Putin's 4+ hour meeting with Biden in Geneva in the summer of 2021, where former KGB agent Putin got a long period of time to look at Biden and draw his own conclusions. So I think this is a serious problem for the United States, not just in the case of dealing with Russia, but in dealing with China, North Korea, Iran. The Russians have deterred us in the war in Ukraine. We have failed to deter the Russians who invaded, obviously, but we're deterred by the fear of a wider war. We hear that from the administration over and over again. We're not ending the violence in the Middle East because we're afraid of a wider war there, too, to do anything against Iran. I'm afraid that not only does Biden not have the credibility he started with, people have read him correctly. This is a weak presidency.
Fair enough. You've been very critical of Joe Biden's foreign policy. You've also been very critical and, shall we say, warning of Donald Trump's potential foreign policy. It looks like America is going to be faced with a binary choice. I think about the end of Donald Trump's administration. Ukraine was not invaded. Alexei Navalny was alive, and Qasem Soleimani, the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, was dead. Now, under Joe Biden's presidency, Ukraine has been invaded. Iran is on the move, and Navalny is dead. Is there not an argument to be made that between the lesser of two evils, that Joe Biden is far more dangerous for the world than Donald Trump?
No, because I think different decisions have different consequences. They were president in two separate 4-year blocks. Certainly, Trump made some correct decisions, withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal, taking out Qasem Soleimani. No doubt about that. The trouble with Trump is that he doesn't think in long-term strategic terms. Okay. He thinks in terms of what benefits Donald Trump. And that, in a second term, I think would be dangerous, including things like the U.S. withdrawing from NATO. Biden, I think, has just been wrong on so many national security matters over the years that it is a failure of philosophy and strategy on his part, and it's why, for two different reasons, in my view, neither one of them is acceptable as president.